everyone, my name is Justin with eXp Realty.
And I'm Lottie with Guaranteed Rate.
And we're here to talk to you guys about home buying process. And we're really going to walk you step by step on what it means for you when you're first inquiring about getting a house, all the way to getting the keys to your house. And so right out the gate, if you guys are looking for a house, obviously the first step for you as a consumer is you're going to start doing some online research. Everyone's going to go to Zillow, everyone's going to go to Google. They're just going to see what's available on the market. So your first step is really narrowing down selection. And then your next step after that is once you start seeing some things that you like and you get your money right and you guys understand, what you can afford on your monthly budget and all that type of stuff, the next step of the process is for you guys to start going out there. Maybe talk to your friends, talk to people that have bought a house, kind of understand, how they did things. And that's cool and everything right now. But one thing I want to caution people is that real estate is a forever changing industry. Things change on a dime. Not every situation is the same. And that's why it's super important to work with professionals, because what we do as a fiduciary responsibility is fine tailor everything to where it meets your needs to a criteria. So what you guys do is when you found the house that you guys like, first thing you need to do is you call a realtor. And what a realtor is going to tell you to do is great. We would love to show you a house, but first thing we need to do is we need to get you pre-approved. Unless you're doing it cash. If you're buying cash, then that's fine. But if you need to finance, a pre-approval letter is important because this is the first step in order for you to get your contract accepted. So what happens when you get pre-approved? Well, first thing you do is you're going to talk to a lender. Lottie, tell them what happens when you get through a pre-approval session.
Yeah, I think it also gives a good peace of mind as well. Because now not only does the client know how much you can afford, right? It's like anything, right? If you're buying a boat, it's like, well, we all know what kind of boat you want. You want the biggest, fastest boat. Yeah. But it's like, which one can you qualify for, right? So it's, so it gives me a peace of mind because, well, now I know we're not wasting our time and working with someone that doesn't qualify, but it also gives you peace of mind. And then it also gives you more purchasing power as well. So what we do differently is not just a pre-approval. So we do a full loan approval, and the main difference is that when I send you the link to apply, you go through it, I'm gonna revise it, make sure that we have everything. I'm gonna pull what they call as a DU, desktop underwriting, in where I tell the computer and the algorithm tells me if you're good to go or not. And I can take this all the way through underwriting, this DU approval, right? With all the requirements that it's asking me for. So when I request the basic documentation, you guys already know what it is, the pay stubs, driver's license, W-2s, yada, yada, and the appropriate documentation. I review it and I say, yeah, you can qualify for 690, right? Based off of, 3% down, 5% down, whatever it may be, I'll give you some options, right? But then additionally, when I run the DU, I can take that to the underwriter, right? Well, what we do differently as well is we do a full loan approval in where we submit it to underwriting. Just in case I missed something, my processor missed something, you had a house out in Idaho that your grandma put you on title and nobody knew about it, you didn't tell me about it, you didn't tell my processor about it, my underwriter will find out.
Yeah, and can you elaborate what an underwriter specifically is so people understand?
Yeah, so the underwriter is basically the decision maker on saying, okay, the bank's going to give you a loan. I know Lottie did his work and the processor did this due diligence, but the underwriter is really going to say, okay, I've looked at the guidelines, you're good to go. I just need one more piece of information, whatever that may be, your dog's last name or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Right. And so then you basically have a commitment letter at that point from the bank. Yeah. Saying that you are fully loan approved. Guess what? Now a full loan approval. If I go and you put an offer with your clients on a home and I call that listing agent and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Realtor, my client's fully loan approved. So I don't know what type of cards you have on your end, right? Because he's not going to show me his cards, right?
No.
He's going to have a VA buyer. He's going to have a cash buyer at this price, yada, yada. I'm going to tell them, hey, I have a full loan approval, and that's got to be on the top of the deck of his cards.
Yeah, and it's, for me as a listing agent, full loan approval versus just a pre-approval is a huge difference, because it means that these people are actually serious. They have the money behind them, because just having a pre-approval letter is basically saying, yeah, roughly this is what we can do, but it's not 100%. Whereas when you're fully unapproved, you're ready to go. You're locked and loaded. And for nowadays too, in this type of market, that's the extra little factor that you need to make your offer stand out compared to other offers. Because if I'm a listing agent, I see a pre-approval letter and I see someone fully underwritten, I'm going with the underwritten all day, because I know all the legwork is ready to go. And it gives my sellers a peace of mind too, letting them know that they have a fully loaded, ready to go buyer that's really willing to put down the money now and get the process going, instead of someone who has some additional hoops to go on for. And that's why it's super important for you to really know who you're working for and not just pick any Joe Schmo, because any Joe Schmo can actually make you lose out on your dream house just off of something stupid as making you get a pre-approval versus a fully underwritten loan too.
And really what this means as a consumer, because you're probably just listening to us like, what do you mean? So if you have, let's just say you have a home that is $600,000, right? But you have 3 offers on it. Someone offered them the 600, you offered them the 610, and then someone else offered them the 620, right? But if I come in and say, hey, and the seller looks at the 610, the one we offered, I said, wait a minute, but these guys are fully loan approved. All we have to have is the appraisal ordered and the title switched over and closed in 14 days. Like, yeah, no, let's go with the 610, because the 620 is asking for 30 days and they're asking for closing costs, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
So it's important for that reason. You get so much more purchasing power and your offer looks way better than any other offer would.
Yeah, 100%. And let's talk about that. So let's say, as a seller, you guys go ahead and accept the offer and I'm representing you as a buyer. Hey, congratulations. Now we're actually getting the ball rolling. But as Kobe Bryant said when he was up 2-0 in the season and the finals, that famous quote that he says, that job's not finished. Guess what? Job's not finished. This is where actually all the magic of everything happening in the real estate transaction happens. And first step too, when you get an offer accepted and I'm representing you as a buyer, my first plan of action for you is to go ahead and get a home inspection. So what a home inspection does for you is, yeah, we went through the home together, you liked everything that you saw, but we don't know what the bones are of the house. We don't know the functionality of the house, if there's any little details or problems that can come up for. And what this home inspection does is it actually points out all those problems for you, and it gives you an insight of what we're walking into. And the good thing is the way I structure my loans, my deals, is that I give you a little get out of jail free card in case anything pops up, that where when we put our deposit down, you actually have a period of time to where we can take back our offer and keep your money and everything's good to go. Your hands are clean. There's no negative repercussions that there is right now. And that's a big trend that I saw 2-3 months ago when people were waiving all these contingencies, working with these realtors that had no idea what the heck that they were waiving, and the next thing you know, they're trying to pull out of a deal because X, Y, and Z happened, and they're losing out on anywhere from $15,000 all the way up to liquidated damages, which is 3 times the amount of whatever your earnest money deposit is on top of your earnest money deposit. So you could be out $50,000 just by that one little thing that someone else doesn't structure right. And that's why also a home inspection is really, really important for you, so that way you know exactly what you're walking into. And then on the other end of things, once that occurs, there's going to be a whole bunch of disclosures coming in. You got your TDS from the seller side, transfer disclosure statement, your natural hazard disclosures, a bunch of different legality paperwork that's basically saying, this X, Y, and Z I know is part of this process, part of this house, and this is what I'm disclosing to you. I guide you guys throughout that whole entire process and really give you guys a full understanding of what's happening, and still give you a jail out of free card before you guys officially are non-contingent and the loan's going through. And then on the other side of things, Lottie, talk to me about what happens when the offer gets accepted.
Yeah, it depends on the type of person you are, really.
Yeah.
Because you can be the type of people that said, yeah, whatever, Lottie, just do what you got to do and just get me this loan, and I just want the keys in my hand.
Yeah.
Right? And then I just tell them, okay, then close your eyes and just hit that sign button, right?
Yeah.
Kidding on that. But then there's other people that really want to be involved. And after a transaction, they'll probably know as much as I do about loans because we're constantly going through it, revising everything, and making sure we have everything and we're all on the same page with everything. So, but initially though, speaking of initially, we send out the initial disclosures on the loan side. Those are going to be telling the consumer what are the terms of the payment, of the cash to close, of the service providers, etc. That's going to have all your basic numbers. And at that point, it's not set in stone because obviously the insurance, we're still going to get an insurance quote, so it might be off by a couple bucks, but it's going to be pretty dialed in. County taxes, HOA, etc. Interest rate, all the little details of a loan. After that, immediately, like yourself, I order the appraisal, right? The appraisal is going to be basically looking at the value, looking at comparables, and it's also going to look at the integrity of the home because when you buy a house, the bank is really buying the house, right? So they don't want something that is, classified like as a C6 or C5, meaning that it's not in good livable condition for resale value. So you definitely want, to have a home that's rigid and that has, the safety aspects, that passes all the safety aspects. While all this is happening, my processor is getting, verifications of employment, getting all the little paperwork in the administrative side, right? So that we can package up your loan to go into underwriting, back into writing. So whether you had a full loan approval or not, we still need to get, updated pay stubs. We need to get the appraisal, so we can submit to the underwriting. And now we have really a true, fully loan approved, not just a credit approved loan, right?
Yeah. And another thing I want to caution too is when you're in this buying process, I cannot stress this enough. It's imperative that you guys do not go out while we're in the middle of this escrow process. Go out, get another credit card, run a credit check, get a car loan, anything like that that can affect your loan because your loan is still working. Just because you got approved doesn't mean that everything's said and done. Everything's said and done when you get your keys. Once you get your keys and title is transferred over here, that's great. Go ahead, get that next car that you want. Go ahead and get that credit card. Go ahead and spend X amount of money. But for those 30 days, do not do anything that's going to affect that loan because if you affect that loan and you're past your contingencies, guess what? You're going to be out of your earnest money deposit, and then again, that whole entire little trickle effect of what it means to get out of that deal that you already got accepted, if you already have your contingencies removed, is going to have insane negative repercussions against you. So again, do not get anything that's going to mess with your credit during the time of your loan process.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true, Justin. A lot of people say, well, how long is this approval good for? It's like, well, if nothing changes, forever, right? If you, in theory, right? Well, obviously we'll have to pull credit and yada yada for 3 months, but assuming that nothing changes, it's good to go, right? It's set in stone. So that's a good point that you brought up. So once it's out of underwriting, we have the bank's basically made a decision that you are fully good to go, and then now we get ready for what this thing is called a clear to close, and that's when we kind of basically go back and forth with escrow and title, make sure all the fees we balance out, and then we order your final disclosures, which is called the closing disclosure. The closing disclosure is basically how everything's gonna look like. That's e-signed, and then we have a 3-day period before you consume the loan and sign for the loan, which is your loan docs. And the loan docs are either something that you can sign at your home with the notary. I prefer to have you guys come into escrow and sign there. They're going to be a little bit more knowledgeable than the notary. If you have any questions about the closing fees and things like that from escrow and title, they will be able to answer it better. Besides, if you do get a notary, they charge like $250, $350 sometimes. So I just say just come into escrow and sign in person. And then after that, basically we get ready to once the disclosures are in, we have everything that we need, and then we just go to fund the loan. When we fund the loan, basically what that means is that the bank sends the wire over
Seller.
to escrow, and then escrow gets ready for disbursements and for recording.
Yeah.
So
and then once you're recorded with the county and everything like that, that's when your name is officially on title. And then I know we didn't talk too much about escrow and title. I'm actually going to be doing a later video with an escrow agent and title agent breaking down exactly what they do in the transaction. But once we get you recorded with the county, your name is officially on title, and that's the best day that there is, because congratulations, now you're a new homeowner. So there's a lot of moving parts that happen once you're in escrow. It can get very confusing, especially if you are working with someone that doesn't really know what they're doing and can't navigate and articulate exactly what the process is. Then you're going to get real lost, real confused, and sometimes even frustrated and lose out on money. And that's why it's super important from start to finish that you're working with professionals that are looking out for your best interests to help you with your purchase of your brand new dream house that you have.
And the one thing also too that I want to add, Justin, is that a lot of people ask me like, well, when do I need the money? When do I need the money? Yeah. That's a really good question. So on a regular resale 30-day escrow, then you need the money usually about a day or two before we actually fund. And obviously I'll be in touch with the buyers, making sure that say, hey, you know what, you're going to sign today, docs are going to be ready, this afternoon. Can we do the wire, or do the wire after you sign? So that you know what the final cash to close is. Oh, you have to wire in $23,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's, and then on a new build, let's just say it takes 5 months to get built. Well, after the maybe a day or two before the loan closes, on new builds they usually want it sooner, maybe a week before the loan closes. That's when you're going to wire your money, and so that's kind of I get that question a lot, so I just find out.
Yeah, and that's another thing I forgot to mention too, is when you first get your offer accepted. First thing we're going to do on top of ordering the home inspection is we're going to send over your earnest money deposit, generally anywhere from 1 to 3% of the purchase price. 3 if you want to be on the stronger side, 1 if you want to be on the safe side. And the reason why I recommend those amounts is because your earnest money deposit during your contingency period is fine and safe to go, but anything after your contingency period, that's the money that's up for grabs. So sellers like to see a stronger earnest money deposit when you put in your offer, because that means that you're more serious and able to take on this particular property or this loan. And that's what's really you're putting up as like a good faith estimate for the seller side of things. And we do that within 3 days of getting your contract accepted. So when you get your contract accepted, make sure that you have that earnest money ready to go, because that's your time frame for you to get that out there.